The homeless boy was dancing for the paralyzed daughter. Until the billionaire father found out what happened next will shock you. 0 to 130 hook. A billionaire father, a paralyzed daughter, and a homeless boy whose dancing brought her back to life. But the night the father discovered the truth, everything changed. Police say the security footage revealed something no one could explain. A figure moving through the shadows, a wheelchair tipped on its side, and sneakers abandoned in the rain-soaked garden. When the father saw that tape, he froze. And then he whispered something that made the detective's blood run cold. He said, "That's impossible. Stay with us. Because what you're about to see will challenge everything you think you know about kindness and danger." 130. 3. T's key questions. Who is the homeless boy? Why was he secretly visiting the billionaire's paralyzed daughter? What exactly did the father find on the footage? And what happened the night everything went wrong? These are the questions that haunted a city for weeks. A gated mansion with secrets behind every window. A hospital bed where hope had died months ago. An empty wheelchair that became the center of a criminal investigation. And a street corner where a boy danced like his life depended on it. What was the boy's real identity? Why was the father afraid? And what really happened that night? Before we go any further, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 3 to 10 backstory. Character setup. To understand how this all happened, you need to know 3 people. The first is Emily Hawthorne, 14 years old. The only child of tech billionaire Richard Hawthorne, a man whose name appeared on magazine covers and charity galas. Emily wasn't born into wealth quietly. She was a ballet dancer. Not just any dancer, but the kind people stopped to watch. Her recitals were packed. Her teacher said she had a gift. She moved like water, like air, like something untouchable. But a year before this story begins, everything changed. A car crash on a rainy November night left Emily paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors said her spine was damaged beyond repair. She would never walk again, never dance again. And for a girl whose entire identity was built on movement, that was a death sentence. Emily stopped talking, stopped eating properly. She sat in her wheelchair staring out the window of her mansion bedroom, watching the world move without her. Physical therapists came and went. Psychologists tried every method. Nothing worked. Her father, Richard, hired the best doctors money could buy, but none of them could reach her. Except for one small detail the medical team noticed. Emily responded to rhythm. When music played, her fingers twitched, her eyes followed the beat. But the moment anyone tried to formalize it into therapy, she shut down completely. So they stopped trying. And Emily Hawthorne became a ghost in her own home. But there was something about Emily's accident the public never knew. Something her father kept buried. Something that would come back to haunt him. Now, let me tell you about the boy. His name, or at least the name he gave people, was Jaden, 15 years old. Homeless since he was 10. No one knew his full story because he never told it. What people did know was that Jaden was a street performer. Every evening, he would set up at the entrance of the downtown subway station and dance. Not for fame, not for dreams of being discovered, just for coins. Enough to eat, enough to survive. Locals started recognizing him. Some called him the dancing kid. Others just walked past like he was invisible. But those who stopped to watch said the same thing. He danced like he was trying to escape something. Like the movement was the only thing keeping him alive. Jaden kept a worn-out locket around his neck. No one ever saw him open it, and when people asked about his past, he would smile and say, "I'm just passing through." But Jaden wasn't just dancing. He was searching for someone. And weeks before this story exploded into the headlines, he had been seen near the Hawthorne mansion, standing outside the gates, watching 10, 20, the incident. Their first encounter happened by accident. Or maybe it was fate. Emily had a doctor's appointment at a private clinic downtown. Her nurse wheeled her through the back hallway to avoid photographers, and that's when Emily saw him. Jaden was dancing outside the window, no music playing, just him and the rhythm in his head. His movements were raw, unpolished, but honest. And for the first time in months, Emily smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just the corner of her mouth lifting. But her nurse noticed. She stopped the wheelchair, watched Emily watch the boy. And in that moment, the nurse made a decision that would change everything. She opened the window and called out to him. The boy stopped, looked up. The nurse waved him closer. Jaden hesitated, then walked over. The nurse said, "Can you dance for her?" "Just for a minute." Jaden looked at Emily, and something passed between them. Something unspoken. He nodded, and he danced. Right there in the alley. No audience, no coins. Just a boy and a girl, and the space between them filled with movement. When he finished, Emily's fingers were tapping the armrest of her wheelchair. The nurse saw it. Jaden saw it. And Emily, for the first time in a year, felt something other than emptiness. But their innocent meetings weren't as secret as they thought. The nurse started bringing Jaden to the mansion. Not officially. Not through the front gate. She would let him in through the side garden after Richard left for work. Jaden would dance. Emily would watch. And slowly, she started moving again. First her fingers, then her toes. The doctors had said it was impossible. But here it was happening. Not in a sterile therapy room, but in a garden with a homeless boy and stolen hours of hope. Jaden never asked for money. Emily never asked why he kept coming back. They just existed in this fragile bubble where nothing else mattered. One night, Jaden told her about his sister. He said, "I had a sister once. She loved to dance too." Emily asked what happened to her. Jaden looked away and said, "I lost her in a fire. I thought she died." Emily reached out and touched his hand. It was the first time she had reached for anything in months. But someone was watching. The security camera in the garden, blinking red, recording everything. The night everything fell apart started like any other. Richard Hawthorne came home early from a business trip. He was tired, stressed. He wanted to see his daughter. He walked through the house, calling her name. No answer. He checked her room. Empty. Panic set in. He ran outside and saw them in the garden. A boy dancing. His daughter watching. Smiling. Richard didn't see hope. He saw danger. He saw a stranger on his property with his vulnerable daughter. He shouted, "Get away from my daughter!" Jaden froze. Emily screamed, "No, Dad, please." But Richard was already calling security. Jaden ran. He didn't explain, didn't defend himself. He just ran. Emily was crying, begging her father to stop, but he wouldn't listen. The guards chased Jaden to the edge of the property, and he disappeared into the night. Richard locked the doors, called the police, held his daughter while she sobbed. He thought he had protected her, but when Richard checked the security footage later that night, he realized something. The boy wasn't running away. He was being chased. And in the chaos, something had fallen from his pocket. Something the cameras caught clearly. A locket. And when Richard zoomed in on the freeze frame, he saw what was inside. A photo of a baby. And on the back, engraved in tiny letters, 2 initials, E, H, 20, 35, 2, 0, aftermath and investigation. Richard Hawthorne called the police that same night. He told them a homeless boy had been trespassing on his property, that his daughter was vulnerable, and this boy had been manipulating her. The police took it seriously. A billionaire's daughter. A homeless kid with no records. It made headlines fast. Officers started searching. Homeless shelters, subway stations, street corners. They interviewed people who knew Jaden, and the stories were all over the place. Some said he was a good kid, never caused trouble. Others said he was always watching people, always too quiet. Something was off about him. Then they found his backpack under a bench near the river. Inside were clothes, a blanket, some food wrappers, and sketches. Dozens of sketches. All of the same girl. Emily Hawthorne, dancing, smiling, moving. The police logged it as evidence. Concerning evidence. But there was something else inside the backpack. The locket. When they opened it at the station, they found the photo. A baby, maybe 6 months old. And the initials on the back, E.H. The lead detective stared at it for a long time. Then he made a phone call. 3 days after Jaden ran, they found him, unconscious under a bridge on the east side of the city. Dehydrated. Hypothermic. He was rushed to the hospital. When Emily found out, she begged her father to let her see him. Richard refused. He said, "That boy is dangerous, Emily. You don't understand." But Emily screamed back, "You don't understand. He's the only reason I'm still here." It was the most words she had spoken in a year. Richard didn't know what to do, so he did nothing. Meanwhile, the media turned it into a spectacle. Headlines read, "Runaway boy obsessed with billionaire's daughter." Hawthorne mansion trespasser still missing. Then, Hawthorne trespasser found, hospitalized. The public was divided. Some saw Jaden as a predator. Others saw him as a victim. No one knew the truth yet. When Jaden woke up in the hospital, 2 detectives were waiting. They asked him why he kept going back to the mansion, why he had those drawings, why he had a locket with initials that matched the girl's name. Jaden was weak, confused. But he answered. He said, "I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was trying to find her." The detectives exchanged looks. One of them leaned forward and said, "Find who?" Jaden closed his eyes. And then he whispered one word. "Sister." ***, mid-video. CTA. ***. If you're still here following this intense story, comment "I'm still watching" and tell us where you're watching from. Let's see who's truly locked in. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You won't want to miss what happens next. 35-0. 45-0. The twist. Revelation. The detective who heard Jaden say that word, sister, didn't dismiss it. He went back to the station and started digging. He pulled up everything he could find on Emily Hawthorne's background. Birth records, hospital records, school enrollment. And that's when he found it. Emily Hawthorne was adopted. Richard Hawthorne had adopted her when she was 6 months old. The adoption was private, handled by an agency that no longer existed. The agency had been shut down years ago after a scandal involving falsified documents and missing children. The detective found the original birth certificate, the one filed before the adoption. The mother's name was listed as Maria Castellano. The father was unknown. And the baby's name, before it was changed to Emily Hawthorne, was Elena Castellano. The detective sat back in his chair. Then he looked at the locket again. E.H. Not Emily Hawthorne. Elena. He drove to the hospital. Jaden was awake, staring at the ceiling. The detective sat down next to him and said, "Tell me about the fire." Jaden didn't move for a long time. Then he started talking. He said, "I was 5. My mom was trying to leave. There was a man. He hurt her. He wouldn't let us go. One night, she packed everything, told me to hold my baby sister. We got in the car. But he found us. He set the house on fire. My mom got me out first. She told me to run. She said she'd come back for the baby. I waited in the yard. I waited and waited. But she never came back. The firemen found me. They said my mom and my sister didn't make it. They put me in foster care. I ran away when I was 10. I've been looking for them ever since." The detective asked, "How did you know Emily was your sister?" Jaden pulled a folded piece of paper from under his pillow. It was a photograph, torn and faded. A woman holding 2 children, a boy and a baby. On the back, in faded ink, it said, Jaden and Elena. The detective's hands were shaking. He went back to Richard Hawthorne's mansion. This time, he didn't call ahead. Richard opened the door, and the detective said, "We need to talk." They sat in Richard's office. The detective laid it all out. The adoption, the birth certificate, the fire, the locket, the photograph. Richard's face went white. He said, "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know." The detective said, "How did you get her?" Richard took a long breath. He said, "I was at a hospital 15 years ago. A charity event. There was a baby in the emergency wing. No family. No records. The nurses said she'd been found outside a house fire. No one claimed her. I had just lost my wife. We'd been trying to adopt for years. I saw that baby and I couldn't leave her there. I took her home. I filed the papers privately. I gave her everything." The detective said, "You didn't think to check if she had family?" Richard's voice cracked. He said, "I thought I was saving her, but there was more." The detective leaned forward and said, "The car accident. The one that paralyzed Emily. You were driving, weren't you?" Richard closed his eyes. He nodded. He said, "We were coming home from dinner. A deer ran into the road. I swerved. We hit a tree. I walked away with a concussion. Emily didn't. I've lived with that guilt every single day. That's why I've been so protective. I almost killed her once. I couldn't let it happen again." The detective stood up. He said, "You didn't almost kill her, Mr. Hawthorne. You saved her. But you kept her from the one person who's been searching for her his whole life." Richard broke down. He put his head in his hands and sobbed. For the first time in years, the walls he built around himself crumbled. 45-0. 55-0 final twist. Resolution. Emily demanded to see Jaden. This time, Richard didn't say no. He wheeled her into the hospital room himself. Jaden was sitting up. When he saw her, his eyes filled with tears. Emily said, "Is it true? Are you my brother?" Jaden nodded. He said, "I never stopped looking for you." Emily reached out. Jaden took her hand. And for the first time in 15 years, they were together. Richard stood in the doorway watching. He had spent years trying to protect his daughter, but he realized now he had been keeping her from the one thing she needed most: family. Not the one he built, the one she was born into. Over the next few months, everything changed. Richard used his resources to help Jaden. He paid for his education, got him into therapy, set him up in a safe, clean apartment. He didn't try to replace what was lost. He just tried to make up for what he'd taken. Jaden visited Emily every day. And slowly, she started to heal. Not just physically, but emotionally. With Jaden there, she had a reason to fight. She started physical therapy again. This time, it worked. And one day, 3 months after their reunion, Jaden danced for her in the hospital garden. Emily watched him. And then, with every ounce of strength she had, she lifted her foot. Just an inch. But it was enough. Jaden stopped dancing. He ran to her, and they cried together. The media eventually found out the truth. The headlines changed. Homeless boy saves billionaire's daughter. Brother and sister reunited after 15 years. It became a story of hope. But the detective wasn't done investigating. Because there was one last piece of the puzzle. The fire that separated Jaden and Elena wasn't accidental. The man who set it, the one their mother was trying to escape, was never caught. The case had gone cold. But the detective reopened it, and after weeks of digging, he found him. Living under a fake name 3 states away. He was arrested, charged with arson, with murder. Justice, 15 years late, was finally served. But the most haunting part of the story wasn't the fire. It wasn't the adoption. It wasn't even the reunion. It was something Jaden told Emily one night as they sat together in the garden. He said, Do you remember the song Mom used to sing? Emily shook her head. She didn't remember anything before she was 6 months old. Jaden hummed it. A soft, rhythmic melody. And Emily's eyes went wide. She said, I know that. I don't know how, but I know that. Jaden smiled. He said, that's the rhythm I dance to. Every single time. It was the lullaby Mom sang to you when you were born. The music that brought them together was the only piece of their past neither of them remembered, but both of them carried. 55-0, 60-0. Engagement CTA plus strong close. So, let me ask you this. What would you have done if you were in the father's place? Would you have let the boy in sooner? Or would you have protected your daughter the way Richard did? Do you think Jaden deserved forgiveness sooner? Was justice really served in the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you think this story was unbelievable, wait until you see the real-life case of the man who disappeared 3 times and came back with a different identity each time. That video is coming soon. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Send this video to someone who believes hope can come from the most unexpected places, because sometimes the people we're looking for have been looking for us too. Family isn't just blood. It's whatever brings you back home.